In round 1 game 1, Evan Swihart got off to a fantastic start as France, bringing defending champion Peter McNamara down to just 3 supply centres early in the game. Peter managed to stage a pretty incredible comeback, but the real story of this board was the Austria-Turkey alliance in the east, run by Katie Gray and Farron Jane. The West managed to stalemate them just in time, but Farron Jane still came out of this game with a big board top, and 100 points. Round 1 Game 2 is again the story of an organised East against a disorganised West. Jason Massbaum and Timothy Crosby dominated this board with their Austria-Turkey alliance as the Western players failed to rally any kind of defence and actually actively worked with the Italian against one another. Tim was the commentator's favourite to win for quite some time, but after spreading his units thin to take St. Petersburg and leaving Venice undefended for just one turn, Jason saw his chance and stabbed for a huge 16 centre board top. He stopped just short of a solo, but the 160 point score was still more than enough to place him at the top of the leaderboard. Round 2 Game 3 began with a chaotic East, something Russ Dennis in Italy was able to leverage to an early lead. With Nicolas Tallet in England quickly jumping from alliance to alliance, it looked like the West was once again disorganised, but some skilled negotiation brought them together to form a Western triple to counter the threat. After years of slow progress against Christian Braun's Russia, but absolutely no progress against Russ's Italy, Sahuge made an attempt to attack Germany, an attempt which Robert Schupper successfully defended against. The game was then drawn, with Russ taking the board top. Round 2 Game 4 rounds out our early round coverage by being a very different kind of game. While Ruben Sanchez on France took the lead in the West and was easily the commentator's favourite for the board top, a rare Russia-Austria-Turkey alliance, including the number 1 seed Seren Kwok, formed and exhibited incredible trust, even moving through one another's supply centres to dismantle West Ketchum's Italy at a record pace. However, when a misorder from Johnny Gillam's Russia cost Seren Tunis, the R was quickly dropped from the RAT and replaced by Germany, with Seren, Ed Sullivan and Riaz Varani forcing Ruben's France back to just one supply centre, and ending on a joint 11 centre board top. Round 3 got off to a poor start for defending champion Peter McNamara as he drew Turkey and immediately got attacked by Italy, Austria and Russia. While he fought for survival in the East, the West was a story we've seen many times before, with a Western Triple Alliance soon becoming an England-France alliance after Karthik Konath and Farron Jane pulled off a brutal stab on Timothy Crosby's Germany. With the Western threat crossing the line, Peter was able to get back into the game when the other 3 powers were forced to turn around, but not quite enough to reach the board top, which Farron gave to Karthik after a prolonged stalemate between the East and the West. Game 2 saw a much more fluid alliance structure as the West saw a coordinated attack on Matt Krill's France, which he successfully repelled with Italian assistance, forcing Riaz Varani's England to stab Germany in order to take the lead. However, with Brandon Fogel's Italy running amok in the south after the successful stab and elimination of Austria, even a late-blooming alliance between England and France was not enough to prevent his board top, securing his place in the final. Jason Massbaum, who played Austria, scored 0 here, but his huge result in the earlier round was enough to keep his spot in the Super 7 regardless. Our final semi-final round began with the ruthless elimination of 2021 Virtual Diplomacy champion Nicolas Sahuge, with even Germany helping to dismantle his Austria. Unfortunately for Ruben Sanchez, who played Germany, the reason he took Austrian homeland was that he was being driven out of his by Vincent Roulet and Ed Sullivan, who remained in a strong alliance for the rest of the game. Michalis Camariti's Italy and Katie Gray's Russia successfully stalemated them, but rather than have the game ending there, both Katie and Ed convinced their allies to gift them centres to give them a shot at reaching the final board, with Katie eventually taking the sole board top. Ed's result placed him just 0.8 points ahead of Karthik Konath, getting into the final by an incredibly narrow margin. And finally, round 4 game 2 was out of this world. It's seriously hard to summarise this game in the time I've got. All 4 players in the East needed a strong board top to qualify, and everyone was going all out, meaning alliances there would last a single turn before players would turn around and align with someone else. The West saw a rather more straightforward opening of number 1 seed Seran Kwok's France being dismantled by all her neighbours, but after Johnny Gillam's Italy let her live on 2 supply centres in order to fight a very strong Germany, she was able to get back into the game, growing incredibly slowly but steadily until she finally reached 5 supply centres for the first time in 1912. Wes Ketchum's Russia eventually won out to become the dominant power in the chaotic East, but he saw the entire board unite against him as a result, and a late blooming alliance between Seran and Nicolas Taillet's Germany managed to push him back to the point where they both guaranteed their spots in the final instead.